Most traders think that their problem is the strategy they are using, but the reason why most accounts get blown out is because of lack of proper risk management or poor risk management system. That is why in today's video, I'm going to show you the exact simple rules that professional traders use to protect their accounts while trading synthetic indices. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So guys, before we dive in properly into this video, let me quickly show you what the importance of good risk management can do and how bad it is when you don't understand your risk. So when you have good risk management system, you can be certain that you'll be taking some good quality trade and you'll be trading without anxiety. If you check here, these are previous trade which I have taken, applying proper risk management, knowing fully well that I am dealing with a system of probability that have the potential to give me a lot of money, and also understanding the possibility that my money can also be taken if I do not know what I am doing. This is a current trade I'm currently waiting on, and you can see that my risk is already defined and I am not rushing to make this trade entry. So this is what the knowledge of good risk management can do to you. It will give you that freedom to trade without anxiety. A lot of persons place trade and they panic their way out of the market. For instance, I'm trading currency pair as well, and you can also see that the trade has given me a reaction from my POI. I'm currently on this trade and I don't need to come here to start checking or do anything because I already have a good risk management system. So let's dive into the main video to see what you need to do. In order for you to understand this topic of risk management properly, I've marked out or listed out some certain things that you need to understand, and you need to pay attention to the rules that you must follow, which I'm going to explain as we make progress in this video. All right, so I've listed them. I'm going to explain each of these statements. I'm sure you might be thinking you understand it by just looking at it, but trust me, this statement is beyond just what you are saying here. There is a deep explanation to each and every one of them, and you can see that the first thing we have on our list is to have a tested working strategy. Now, what does that mean? Before I'm able to be certain that this is the area I need to be taking my trade, there are some things that I've put in place, and these things are what I consider to be my edge, and these things have been tested. And now, how do you know, or how do you test your strategy? You don't just open a single pair and look out for a particular area and you say, oh, I would have made a lot of money trading from this place. No, you need to understand that there are 4 stages in the market, like I explained in my previous video. Now, the first stage is the stage of ascension, or the ascending stage in the market. Now, we also have the distribution stage, we have the declining stage, and we have the accumulation stage. If you have not watched my previous video where I talked about best time to trade synthetic indices, you can kindly go back to my previous video to do justice to that. Now, you have to test your strategy in all of these stages of the market. That is when you can be certain. By then, you'll be able to know when your strategy works better and when you are not to be taking some certain trade. Now, once you have tested your strategy and you know, or you've confirmed that, okay, out of a particular number of trade, I have the capacity to win so number following this simple strategy that you're using. The moment you have a working strategy, the next thing you want to do is to have a clear defined risk value. Now, what do I mean by have a clear defined risk value? For instance, I'm using this particular trade as an example. You don't want to make a trade decision thinking about just the profit. Now, there is a popular trade quote that says a good trader is someone that pay more attention to how much he or she is risking on a trade than how much you want to make from that trade, right? So you need to actually determine how much you're going to risk. Now, this thing you're saying here shows that I am making a trade entry from this point, and this line here represents my stop loss. Now, you need to be certain that making a trade entry here and putting your stop loss here, how much are you going to risk? You need to have that understanding. Now, MT5 platform has made it very easy for us to do that. So the first thing you need to do before placing a trade is to figure out what is the value or the size of your stop loss. You need to be very certain about that. Now, once you have gotten that information, you now move to the next thing, which is accept your risks before entry. And this is where a lot of beginners or a lot of traders are having problem. They already know that, okay, they want to make a trade entry from here and the conservative region for their stop loss should be around here, but they are not even sure of how much they are going to lose if they put their stop loss here. And even if they are sure that they are going to lose a certain amount of money, let's say $20, they do not accept this risk. And that is why, if you notice that anytime you place a trade setup or you place a trade, you are always checking your MT5 to check what is happening, and the moment the trade is in loss, you start panicking and all. That is because you are still suffering from this. You have not been able to accept your risks before entering. So the first thing is, once you have tested your strategy, you have a clear defined risk value, and I've explained that you need to know how much you are going to lose putting your stop loss at a particular place and making a trade entry from a particular level. Then the next thing is to accept your risks. How do you do that? Let's say you have $100 in your account, right? Let's say you have $100 in your account. Now, what you need to do is look out for, ask yourself that I am entering this trade from here. I'm using a risk to reward of 1:3, right? Now, my stop loss size is $20. If I am entering this trade, that means that I am going to lose $20. Psychologically, within your mind, you need to accept that the account balance you have or the money you have left in your trading account is no longer $100 but what? $80. Even while the trade is still on, you should have talked to yourself, you should have convinced yourself that what you have left in your account is $20. That is what accept your risks before entry. That is what it means. So the moment you are comfortable with that, okay, I have $100, I'm going to make this trade entry. This trade entry is going to cost me $20 and I have $80 left. The moment you see that you are still conflicting, don't enter. Make sure that you comfortably accept this risk, and that is what separates just random traders from profitable or professional traders. Because professional traders don't just know about their risks. The first two lines is to have a working strategy and then have a defined risk. Now, they don't just have a defined risk, they accept their risk. So that is just the difference between the professionals or the profitable traders and those who are still struggling to gain consistency in the market. Now, the next thing is learn to cut your losses. Now, this statement is very popular in the trading industry, but a lot of persons don't even understand what this statement means. To cut your losses short. What does it mean? Now, does that mean that once you see a trade running in loss, you should just close it? No, that is not what this trade means. And this is where the confusion lies, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. Now, let's assume you want to make a trade entry from here, right? If the trade comes to your POI and trigger your entry, okay, let's say the trade is already around this region, does that mean you should close it? That is not it. You need to also wait for confirmation. Let's say you saw your confirmation candle inside this point and the trade is moving in your profits. If the trade eventually comes back like this, that is a sign telling you that the confirmation you're using has been invalidated. So there is no point of you waiting for your stop loss. See, there are two ways to this thing. It's either you accept your loss or you must be strategic in cutting your losses. And when we are talking about cutting your losses, you need to be very, very careful so that you don't just act on emotion. You don't allow your emotion to control you and you become impulsive in making decisions. So what you need to do is, if you have a confirmation, ensure that confirmation is not invalidated. The moment it is invalidated, there's no point of you holding. Or maybe you start seeing the market doing something like this. This is your POI. The market is doing something like this, on your POI, it's just creating structure to the downside and it has not gotten to your stop loss. Honestly, you can close the trade. Right? You don't need to give yourself headache. You need to trade with precision. The trade that will give you the money you're looking for may not necessarily stress you, right? So that is what cutting your losses mean. It doesn't mean that the moment you are in red, you should cut the loss, because there are times that the market will be in red, and before you know, it start booming in your profit. But what you must do is, once you are in profit, good, or maybe when the trade triggers you and maybe you are in loss, just few dollars loss, you just have to be patient with the trade. But once your confirmation has been validated, you have no reason why you should hold on to that. When you're holding on to that, what you're doing is you are hoping, and hope is one of those things that destroy traders. You don't hope, you have to act on what is happening right now. So that is just that about cutting your losses short. Now, the next thing we have on our list is break even at a strategic level, right? So I'm using this particular setup to explain what I mean by that. Okay, let's go back to the previous trade which we are taking. Now, I'm saying break even at a strategic level. This is a very good example. Suppose you make a trade entry here, right? And the trade is already moving in profit. Let's say because you saw the trade at this point, you say, oh, you know what, let me just quickly break even. When this trade retreats, you would have been taken out. That means you are not being strategic while you are doing your break even. Now, to be strategic is, if you are targeting, this is 1:7 risk to reward. If you are targeting 1:3, let's say this is too high, let me take it to 1:3, because that is what I always recommend for people to use. Always use 1:3 risk to reward ratio, right? If you are targeting 1:3 risk to reward as in your trade, or in a particular trade setup, you are not expected to break even until that trade move at least half of your profits, and that is what 1:1.5. So let's say when the trade gets to this particular point, this is 1:1.5, right? This one is to 1.5. So let's say when this trade gets to this particular point, this is the best time you can break even. Okay, and you see that if you broke even here, this trade will still keep you in profit. Now, two things here: you are now running in a trade that has zero risk, and you are still in profit. So that is why the statement say you should break even at a strategic level. So this is the strategic level you need to use. Make sure that if you are using 1:4 risk to reward ratio, only break even when your trade is at a risk to reward of 1:2. So if you have been making mistakes of breaking even and the trade taking you out before going in your direction, make sure you drop your experience in the comment box. All right, so I believe that you guys understood this particular point. Break even at a strategic level. Now, the next thing I have on my list is take profit or partial when essential, and I have something written here that profits not taken is an illusion, right? What do I mean by that? You see, the trade that you have running is not your money until you close the trade. Even if you are making $1 million and that trade is still in progress, that profit is not your profit until you close the trade. And that is why I said, when it is necessary, ensure that you take your profit. For example, if you have made a trade, let's say you are targeting 1:3 risk to reward ratio, right? So this is 1:3 already, and you know that maybe there is a possibility that this trade will still go in your favor. That is great. You should have taken your profit here, or take partials at most. So if you want to hold for long, ensure that you don't put all your money in one basket, or you just allow or risk the money that you could have, the potential profit that you could have taken. So let's say you have a risk to reward of 1:4. So once the trade moves to a risk to reward of 1:2, you can break even, right? Or take partial. So if you have two position running, you can close one, then break even and allow the other to run risk free, and also give you rooms to make more profits. So I believe that is taken. Now, the last but not the least is have a good understanding of yourself and your relationship with risk. And this is something that you need to really understand. This is what makes you a good trader. You must understand yourself to a good extent. That is why I say have a good understanding of yourself. Know what your risks, know how much risks or how much blow you can take in the market. So when you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is mental analysis. And this is what a lot of persons don't know. You don't just wake up in the morning, you jump into your screen and you start analyzing, looking out for trade setup to take. No, you don't do that. What you need to do is you need to do what they call mental analysis. Mental analysis is you have like few minutes of your time to deliberate on what you want to do today. How did the previous day went? What can you do better this time? How much are you going to lose today? How much are you going to make today? For instance, if you have $100 account, you can tell yourself that, okay, I don't want to lose more than $30. That is like 30% of your account today. And once you have that in mind, you look for a trade setup that deserves that $30. Right? You can split it that, okay, I'm going to take 2 trades today to risk this $30, or I'm going to take 3 trades. Now, when you say you're taking 3 trades, that means that on one trade you can risk $10. On any trade you can risk $10. Now, if you say you're going to take just 2 trades, it means that on one trade you can risk $15. So once you have all of this thing done before jumping on your chart, it becomes easier. So the only thing that you are going to be doing is just execution. You come to the chart, you already have a working strategy, you've defined your risks, you've accepted that this is what you must not go beyond today, and then you make your trade entry, you execute. And once you execute your trade, allow the trade to play out. Don't panic, don't always be on the screen to check what is happening. No, you can always do pre-market analysis and post-market analysis. Post-market analysis is after the trade would have played out, and you either learn a lesson from it or check how the trade went. Not when the trade is in progress, because something can happen within your mind. Trading is a game of mind. Something can happen to you and then you start questioning your judgment that, oh, it seems you are wrong, this and that and other. So the best thing is, once you make your decision, allow the trade to materialize. And like I said, if you have not watched my videos previously where I talk about the best time to trade synthetic indices, kindly make sure you do justice to that. And if you find this video helpful and educative, make sure you subscribe to the channel if this is your first time of viewing my content, and don't forget to like and share this video so that others can learn and benefit from it. Also, in the description of this video there's a link from it. Also, in the description of this video so if you don't have a Deriv trading account yet, you can use my link to register. It's in the description of this video. So I believe you enjoyed this video. This is where we'll be stopping today, and I hope to see you in our next video. Peace out, guys, and not skid cares.